There's so much content available, but what are we actually doing with it? Thanks so much for joining in for 2 by Tuesday. Today's episode, it's created for you, but it's also a really important reminder for me in terms of absorbing information and actually taking action on it. We are bombarded every single day by webinars to join, new books to read, podcasts to listen to, conferences to attend. I'm addicted to listening to new things. It's like an endless search for a silver bullet. I'm going to go on the x-axis, and that is consumption, right? So you can have here high consumption, and this is where you're listening to things endlessly, you're reading lots of books, you're learning, you're soaking it all up. This isn't a bad thing, by the way. This is what I do. So high consumption is getting out of your own head, getting exposure from things that are external to you. The opposite of that is low consumption. So tuning out all of that, what's going on externally, and really paying attention to what is going on inside your own brain. Like Carl Jung said, those who look outside dream, those who look inside awaken. And then on the y-axis, I've got creation. That's high. That is getting your ideas out there, socializing your concepts, writing them down, publishing them, getting them out to the world, taking action on the ideas that you're listening to. That is all part of the creation piece. And then creation is low down here, which means you might be synthesizing these ideas, really thinking about them, but you're not actually doing anything with them. Or you might be listening and just constantly trying to find the next new thing, trying to solve your problem without actually taking action on what you're hearing as well. No judgment on any of these areas. So those are the two elements we're talking about today: consumption of content, high or low, and then creation of content and taking the action high and low as well. I'm going to start with the bottom left. This might sound a bit aggressive. So down the bottom left here, I have thought bleeder. So thought bleeder is you're not neither consuming content nor you creating it. So as you live, it's coming in but going out. You're just bleeding out ideas and thoughts without any type of retention of that. Bleeding it out. It doesn't sound very nice if you try to visualize that. On the top left, I've written here thought leader. So this is where you're thinking about ideas, you're noting them down, you're retaining them, and you're frequently publishing and putting your own ideas out there. I see people like Alan Weiss, for example, on Twitter. He doesn't follow anyone, but he observes the environment around him and publishes content relating to that. So kind of isolating everyone else and just pushing out content really consistently as well. Sometimes I've had to turn into this mode where I've just got to shut off content and just stop running with my AirPods in. So it allows me to think. And I find that as I do that, I start randomly connecting different pieces and making sense of what's going on. But you need to create that space in order to do that, to become a thought lead. I'm going to go to the top right, which is you're consuming a lot of content and you're also putting out a lot of content as well. And I'm calling this quadrant the thought breeder. So that's like getting some exponential ideas, right? There are no original ideas out there, but it's how you're connecting different pieces. And I think this is really fun when you start consuming different content from a wide variety of sources and you start forming these linkages to create a concept that may not have been thought about before. Not only are you connecting it in your own mind, you're sharing that knowledge with other people, you're publishing it widely. You might be getting feedback on that, which also reinforces it and keeps these thoughts breeding as you go along. So thought breeding, I think, is really cool. It's like an exponential compounding of ideas. As you get reinforcement and you get co-creation, then you start forming new ways of doing things, breeds it on as well. Thought breedership is a new phrase that I've just invented from this 2 by Tuesday just to keep it rhyming. And then the bottom right, this is where I think I can get stuck. I want to sort of focus on this element. This is where you are a thought reader. You're reading it, but you're not actually doing anything with the content that you are consuming. It's coming one way through to you, but it's not being channeled into any other efforts. And I want to share this quote from Ira Glass. It really resonates with me. And I think the reason sometimes we can get stuck in thought reader mode is because we're reading such wonderful things, and it creates a disparity between where we currently are in terms of our talent and what our taste is. Here's the quote from Ira Glass. He says, "I wish someone told me. All of us who do creative work, we get into it because we have good taste, right? We're high at the consumption part, but there is a gap. For the first couple of years, you make stuff and it's just not that good. It's trying to be good. It has potential, but it's not. But your taste, the thing that got you into the game, is killer. And your taste is why your work disappoints you. A lot of people never get past this phase. They quit. And if you're just starting out, or if you are still in this phase, you've got to know it's normal, and the most important thing you can do is a lot of work. Put yourself on a deadline so that every week you finish one story. It is only by going through a volume of work that you will close that gap and your work will be as good as your ambitions. You just got to fight your way through. I love, love, love. This is why I read it out in full, this quote, because we can get stuck in this thought reader mode. The scary thing is that when we listen and consume content, we have this really weird feeling like we're making progress even though we haven't done anything. It's very easy to just consume and think that you're growing, but it's only when you start to do the work and create the volume and see that gap between the taste of where you want to be versus where you are now, that is brutal. In the last few months, I've been trying to get better at writing articles. It's very easy for me to read an article and critique it because I've got such good taste. But when I go to write it, it's super challenging because I read it back and I think, this is terrible. Like, I can't believe I'm going to publish this and put it out to the world. What is reinforcing me to continue publishing consistently is this quote from Ira Glass, recognizing that the only way to bust out is not to consume more content, but to start creating more articles. If you're in this bind where you're constantly consuming content, you're not creating anything, have a think about that. Is it because your taste is at such a high level that it puts you off creating the content? I just encourage you to continue showing up. I also think it's great if you are in a thought leadership capacity, that's the top left of this, to start thinking about how can you then start using your ideas to breed more content, to start getting more insights, to then further develop a concept or idea and let it increase exponentially. Where are you on this matrix? Are you a thought breeder, a thought bleeder, a thought leader, or a thought reader? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for listening to 2 by Tuesday this week. I look forward to chatting to you next time.